Hello and welcome to another episode of The Wannabe Entrepreneur, the podcast about what it's really like to bootstrap a company. And today I have here Shawn Fisher. Hey Shawn, welcome to the show.
Hey Diego, thanks for having me.
I will be speaking with Shawn about Aerofarms, which is a super exciting product in the agrotech that basically allows you to grow your own veggies in your kitchen. So it's kind of a fridge, and the product is they are still developing the product, but it sounds super promising. And this idea of being able to grow your veggies, fruits, I don't know, we'll learn about that. Just, in the next door or in your kitchen, your basement sounds super, super exciting. And it's really great also for sustainability. It cuts down on a lot of fuel, a lot of energy. And we all know, and you also know, the listener, that I'm very passionate about climate change. I built a climate change app called Change It. And I'm always super excited to speak with other founders that are trying to do something about it, that try to help the world to become more sustainable. So today we'll be talking about Shawn. And Shawn is also building this company with his wife Amy, and we'll be talking about the full journey, how it's going, and I'm super excited to learn more. And I will start by asking you, Shawn, to give a little introduction about yourself and about kind of how your life brought you to become an entrepreneur and how you first started Aerofarms.
My background is in electrical engineering technology, and I've worked in the power utility sector for quite some time, for over 10 years. How I got, so that's not really anything to do with agriculture at all, or farming or anything like that. I had no experience in any of that stuff before we started this venture. In 2015, I read a book about a telepathic gorilla who befriended a 6-year-old girl, and they had chats about human culture.
What?
Yeah,
fiction book, I suppose.
It's called Ishmael by Daniel Quinn.
Okay.
But so the gorilla was talking about the takers and the leavers, and he was talking about ancient human society of hunter-gatherers, and when they figured out agriculture. So he was talking about like leavers as in, ones who just worked out the land and moved around, and then other ones who stayed in one place, learned how to grow their own things and become centralized and started to actually settle down, sort of thing, and how much has changed since that point. But I read that in the book, and just the takers and leavers paragraph, I just sort of wandered around in the house just sort of thinking about agriculture and what that looks like today. And I wandered into my kitchen and I looked around and I just realized, I don't know anything about any of the food in here beyond the label. I don't know where it came from, what happened to it, where it was grown, nothing, what's on it. And, I kind of just had a moment where it was just this is crazy. This is fucked.
Yeah.
So from then on, I had a really keen focus on all the processes that bring us our food in particular. And that ended up branching out to just all of human effort that has been sort of fueling climate change and how we can reimagine all those systems to be sustainable in the form of the basic needs sort of thing. So I started with food, and then I'm also concerned about artifact production and energy production as well as the sort of 3 climate change areas that I have a big focus on now. But First and foremost is food. So I'd really like to see how we can make a better food system that doesn't harm the environment and gives us a healthier product.
Right. So when I started building Change It, I also started realizing the impact of our actions. And before Change It, the things I knew was turn off the light, or I don't know, don't spend too much water in the shower. But then I really realized that the things that really impact climate change and kind of damage the environment are food related, and of course transportation related, and especially eating meat or beef has a huge impact on the CO2 that we produce. And as well, even veggies and all of that, it's the transportation especially. and the practices that a lot of farmers put nowadays into how they produce our food can really damage our environment. And my question there is, so did you, and I also, by the way, totally connect with that, like with the fact that we don't know anything about our food. Like, does lettuce
Yeah.
grow in the supermarkets?
Mhm.
Right, like a lot of people don't know, like, where is lettuce coming from, for instance.
Yeah.
So did you, like, this realization, like, were you already worried about climate change? Was it something already in your mind when you first realized it, or did you just like at this epiphany when you looked at your fridge, like, yeah, I don't know anything about my tomatoes, and then you kind of started learning the impact of the food production on climate afterwards?
Yeah, it all started with that epiphany, yeah, back then about 7 years ago, sort of thing. Like,
Interesting.
yeah, and then I found myself walking through Costco, and I'm from Newfoundland, Canada. We're the furthest easterly point in Canada, out here in the Atlantic Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like in Costco, and now I'm starting to like look at labels and stuff, and I look at a bag of broccoli, and it says
Mm.
product of Mexico,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Mexico is about 5,000 kilometers from where I am. So
Mm.
it got me thinking about all the processes, all the economies of scale. Yeah, how are the farmers? That led me into
Yeah.
figuring out they have to clear all the land, scrape away all the biodiversity, cover it in petrochemicals, start growing their stuff, cover it in herbicides, pesticides, process everything, package everything, refrigerate everything, transport everything, and then 40% of all that we grow is thrown away at the end of the process.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I started to learn what that entire process was that brings the food to our grocery stores, and I realized like we have absolutely no control over it as consumers,
Mm-hmm.
and it's quite harmful when you look at the giant picture of it. And if we're throwing away that much food, to me, that's evidence that that system just doesn't work.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a pity that we don't know or learn about this in schools. I don't know about in Canada, but like here, we just don't know. We are we have it as a given, like, okay, you go to the supermarket and it's there, like, and you have no idea where it came from, and it's crazy that we don't learn about it, right?
Absolutely, and it's something so essential as food. So to me,
Exactly. Yeah.
it made the most sense that food should be grown at the home where it's to be eaten at the point of consumption. And if it
Right.
was, you would just be if you could achieve a method of doing that, you could circumnavigate the entire global supply chain and start to reduce demand on those methods of food production, and hopefully we can convert to a more sustainable system.
Yeah, yeah, makes total sense. And it's interesting when you mention about checking the labels. This is actually on Change It. I also give this tip to people. Just start checking the labels of the ingredients you're buying, and start buying more local. Like, try to buy from things that came closer to you. And then I started doing that, and I didn't even know that actually when I went to the supermarket, I could know where the products were coming from. I never checked the labels for that. And
Yeah,
then I started
absolutely.
realizing that, wait, what is this? Like, this banana is coming, I don't know, from maybe Africa, or like kiwi coming from New Zealand. And you said, whoa, this is traveling all around the world just to come here. And it's funny also to see, because there's seasons, right? Like, a tomato doesn't grow in Portugal all year long, right? So there's specific times in the year when it grows, but we always have tomatoes available
Yeah.
in our supermarket. So it's funny, if you check the labels, you start seeing that suddenly you have like tomatoes coming from Portugal, Spain, and then suddenly it changes to like Italy, and then suddenly it changes, I don't know, to some other places. So it gets further and further away. So yeah, all of this information is super interesting to
It's
learn.
an astonishing feat to be able to produce basically all the common goods at all times of the year through a
Yeah,
complex
yeah,
network of
yeah.
global supply chains. But to me, I'm just like, why are we doing it that way? And I
Mm.
feel like food security is going to have to start on the smallest scale of society. And so to me, I'm really focused on the dwelling. So I think modern dwellings should be able to provide the production of all the basic needs within it.
Mm.
And that's sort of kind of where I started modeling this unique solution there that
Yeah.
we have now that turned into Air.
And you know what I find really interesting, Sean, is that you find this problem, and it's a huge challenge. Like, it's super hard to solve, and then you think to yourself, you know what, I can solve this. I'm an electric engineer. I can do this, and that shows an impressive entrepreneur mindset. So my question to you is that, is it the first time that you are actually being an entrepreneur? Is it the first time you have this urge to actually being an entrepreneur, or do you have like other experiences in the past that are somehow related to this entrepreneurship spirit?
This was probably my first major entrepreneurial journey for sure. My wife and I, we DJ'd in the past, so we've done a bit of that stuff, and we've had like
Cool.
we've had a music blog before, Remix 86, which is still active, but I'm not working on it right now. So
Okay.
that's kind of the thing. We like creative stuff like that, but this was the first kind of like problem that, like you just said, I can solve this. For some reason, yeah, I found that mentality that I just felt that I can solve this problem, sort of thing. So yeah, I started working on it on the side in whatever time I can find while working full time. So it's been taking a long time, and we've had a lot of life events happen in between that too. But
how did you come up with the idea and decided to start working on this? How did this go also with your wife?
I came to the realization that I thought that food production has to occur at the point of consumption. So I started thinking, what would a system like that look like? So, and Amy's really good at like consumer experience. She has a marketing and business background. And so we know that, great change is not going to, like, people are going to want to use this product for certain values. So no matter how great your idea, it has to be adoptable and scalable. So in 2015, I started focusing on the food system, and then we came together and really, that's what we were working on all these years. How do we refine the system in a way that it will just become, a common fixture and that's why we ended up going with an appliance. So in 2015, it started with like a Tupperware bin with misters and lights and stuff like that. It looked like a Frankenstein kind of like amalgamation of parts and lights and stuff like that. So, but that's where it all began. It was just product refinement, talking to customers and people with problems with access to food, and just refining and refining and refining the system until, we got something that we've finally been able to achieve the amount of variety that you need in a congested space and the amount of yield to be able to grow it at home. So that's what hasn't occurred yet, because everybody's been focusing on like leafy greens and the easy stuff to grow.
You didn't know anything about agriculture before, right? And I guess Amy didn't know either?
Nope. So, but she knows value.
What does that mean?
For technologies like this that are going to be sustainable for the future, they need to have value for people to pick them up. Value in time or cost or effort or quality, some major perceptible, tangible benefit sort of thing. So shaping new technologies in this framework here, that's the way we want to go about it, to make sure that, we can help the planet and actually people will adopt it, and, it'll be a better system that we can leave the old one behind.
Did you try like start doing like growing your own veggies? Was it something that you're already doing in your backyard?
No, I just started with the alternative technologies right away. So land use is one of the biggest problems of climate change. So I started from the get-go that we should be growing our food crops indoors without soil. I thought
why? That's interesting. Like, did you like read a lot about it? How did you come with that to that realization?
Yeah, I started researching it all. I came across the alternative methods like aquaponics, hydroponics, and aeroponics, because NASA invented aeroponics back in the 1980s. And aquaponics is interesting because it's growing plants that sort of hang over a fish tank, and the fish will sort of feed the plants, sort of thing. But that's a
what?
Complicated. Yeah,
the fish will feed the plants.
Yeah, that's right. You got to feed the fish, but their excrement will provide the nitrogen that will then be pumped up and feed the plants. So it's an organic way to provide the fertilizer input to plants.
Okay. Yeah. And that's aquaponics.
Aquaponics, yeah, that's right. So that involves, that's fish and planting, and they're gorgeous systems. But I'm trying to focus on a smaller scale, something adoptable, something that could fit in a house. And I didn't think a fish tank would be maintainable and practical in that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So then I looked at hydroponics, and that involves having a water reservoir and a nutrient reservoir, and the plant's roots suspend in that water at all times, and you just pump the water through and they grow in that. But then I found about aeroponics. So hydroponics uses typically up to 70% less water than soil farming.
Okay.
Aeroponics uses up to 95, 98% less water than soil farming.
That is crazy. 95.
It's wild. So to me, with this climate change, sustainable stuff, I'm thinking, this is the Buckminster Fuller route. Like, what can we get the most out of using the least amount of resources? And with aeroponics, you have the roots suspended in a root chamber, and then a superfine mist of water and nutrient is just sprayed in the roots every 4 minutes for, say, 4 seconds. So this creates a 100% humidity environment where the roots just, you got to see them. It's wild. They end up making the
pictures
most.
Now.
Yeah, you'll end up seeing these root balls that are just like really fine root hairs and really dense. And what it is the plants are making as much surface area as they can, and where the mist is so fine, they have crazy nutrient uptake and they grow very, very fast. So
it's like they are growing on air, right?
That's right. Yep,
cool.
Just in a dark chamber. Yep, just in a dark chamber. And not only does aeroponics use up to 98% less water, but it grows food up to 3 times faster than soil.
Really?
Yeah. So you could see these features that are wild in these alternative growing technologies, and that's why I was convinced we had to get away from soil, because using these controlled environments, we can really boost the growth. And that's because that's how we have to get the yield. We have to find a way to be constantly having our supply of food at all times so that we can be self-sufficient in as much as we can.
Right. So you immediately, because it's funny, you spoke about aquaponics, hydroponics, aeroponics. You didn't speak about anything soil related, right?
No, that's right. Yeah.
So you immediately thought, okay, soil is a thing of the past. Like we should be growing. Is there any disadvantage or any advantage that only the soil can bring that all of these techniques don't?
So the research is still early, I believe, but there is something to say about like the fungi and the bacterial entities of the soil. And if you look at some Paul Stamets videos and things like that, he describes, mushrooms and fungi as like the internet of the forest sort of thing. Right, and, it's responsible for nutrient transmission and even communication between different species and things like that. So I view it as, the soil is, there's all this complex life in soil, and soil is beautiful. And I think all this fungi and all these different bacterial elements are moving nutrients and giving it to the plant in the open wild system.
Right.
And I feel that if you can just still organically and effectively provide all the nutrients, that I think you can replace the use of soil. Okay. And you're not really missing out on anything. Now, the research could come out and say there's something super vital in soil that plants absolutely need, but people have been using aeroponics to grow things for 50 years and plants thrive.
Already.
Yeah.
Wow.
40 years. 40 years now.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and the plants, like they grow crazy. They love it. They uptake it. They just grow really, really quickly. And another reason why I think that the home is the ideal farming environment is because that's where humans are, and they're in there breathing out carbon dioxide.
Right.
And plants use that to build their mass. So if you had something in the kitchen here, the plants are sucking up all that CO2. There's on average twice as much CO2 in a home than there is outdoors. So the plants are getting a boost there. They're getting a boost from the aeroponics. They're getting the nutrient uptake like crazy. And we've also got some special lighting that they're just blasted with photons during their whole stage of growth. And you end up with like a supercharged growth system.
It's so cool. How did you learn all of this? Like, did you read? Did you just like research on the internet? What was your learning process?
Yeah, I just researched. I watched videos and forums. With this alternative growing stuff, most of the information comes from cannabis forums. So, and these guys have been building hydroponic and aeroponic systems for decades. So, and recently, cannabis became legal in Canada. So, we're getting all that underground information and talent coming to the tech world now, right? So,
Yeah.
but that's where the information I found. I find still very hard to find a lot of great information on aeroponics and hydroponics for major food production. And really, there's nothing on things beyond leafy greens and herbs. Until we have our product released there, because we've been focusing on root vegetables and onions and broccoli, nutrient dense items.
And interesting what you just said about cannabis. So I guess when weed was not legal, when in many countries still isn't, people had to find ways to still grow weed without being noticed, right? So
Yeah.
they couldn't just like farm it outside in the field. So do you think that's why they started exploring these other techniques of agriculture?
I believe so, yeah, big time. And
That's
plus
amazing.
they found out right away that they could just get a lot more grams per watt and per effort out of these
Ah,
systems. They just
yeah.
performed much better than soil. So,
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. And before we start actually learning from the journey of building air farms, I have still one more question for you
mhm.
related to sustainability. So I guess the biggest issue, and correct me if I'm wrong, for our climate nowadays, with the current way of farming, is first of all the waste, right? So that we lose a lot in the transportation, and also the fuel that we use in the transportation for sure. So that with your product, this would be fixed, right? So people won't waste as much because they know that it's coming from their own kitchen. So even if it's kind of what they call the ugly fruit, it doesn't look good, but they know it's good because it came from their own kitchen. And of course, there's no transportation. Well, you still, I guess, need the ingredients or some kind of the seeds, but that's completely fine.
Yeah.
But there's maybe more, or they can be a little bit less efficient in terms of energy, right? And if your mix of energy still uses fuel, then it can still damage the environment. Whereas in these bigger farms, maybe they can have it a little bit more industrialized and they can save more energy on, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. So what do you think about this energy production? Can it actually do more damage than good, your solution to the environment?
I don't feel so. Our unit here has 68 crop spots and uses less than 150 watts. So here in Canada,
Okay.
that ends up being roughly $8 a month, sort of thing, in electricity costs. And our methods actually, when you're growing from seeds and you don't
That's
have to use
crazy.
the global supply chain, it's actually cheaper to grow this method, and you can pay off the unit within 5 years. But I think the scale of the amount of systems that you're avoiding by growing food at the point of consumption far outweighs the detriment of people still using dirty electricity at their homes, if that's what you mean.
Yeah.
So we're avoiding all these intensive systems, carbon intensive systems, all these engines, all the processing. Nothing has to be wrapped in plastic anymore. You avoid all the packaging. Yeah, you avoid all the preservation and transportation. So, yeah, because typically the average age of an apple in a grocery store is 12 months.
Wait, you lost me there. 12 months. So like one apple can be in one store for 12 months.
Yeah, and we've figured out wild methods for preserving things that, yeah, it ends up because we want food to accommodate the global supply chain system.
Right.
So there's a lot of items that are a lot longer. Like now, an apple is something that can be preserved, pretty good. But the for things like carrots, they could be 9 months old. Potatoes up to 12 months old. Tomatoes can be up to 2 months old, and all this like spinach and lettuce and leafies can be a month old by the time you can actually purchase it.
But why? Because normally, naturally, they cannot last that long, right? So it's because we are putting some kind of additives that will preserve these veggies, right?
That's right. All kinds of preservation methods and refrigeration methods that
Mm,
delays the process. Sometimes they ship things that are filled with certain gases that stave off,
wow.
and apples are coated to stave off oxidization. So there's all these methods, right? And nutrient degradation happens the moment the plant is cut from the ground.
Yeah. So they're not
So,
healthy. Maybe our veggies are not healthy, actually, right?
well, we're losing a lot of nutrient content. That is degrading the moment it's gone. So I think it could be half as much nutrients left in the stuff that we can buy in the store. But if we were growing it in the kitchen, where from farm to fork would be 10 feet, you're
Yeah.
literally cutting it and is
It's
living and
amazing. That's
putting
the
it on your
dream.
plate.
Yeah.
So
It's amazing.
that's the way food should be. And then your family is like watching the food grow from seed to
Yeah,
harvest every
so
day,
fun.
right?
Yeah. As you say this kind of sounds like science fiction for me. It doesn't sound possible. So
It looks wild too, and our
it
root chamber is
definitely.
accessible. So we've grown beautiful potato plants, and then we had some hardware issues, and I had to rebuild the unit, and that's where I'm at now. But we have an accessible root chamber where so you got potato plants growing, and you'll be able to cut the potatoes out of the root mass and just leave the plant to continue to grow.
Wow, that's
And you can grow
amazing.
more potato plants from potatoes, right? So you
Yeah.
might not have to buy potatoes anymore.
Wow.
And yeah, so that you're harvesting everything as it's growing. So like kale, you're cutting off a couple leaves at a time, but you're getting more edible mass for a lot of items
Mhm.
because your means of storage is a fridge looking like device that's also your means of production.
How much time does it take though for, because in today's world where people are so busy, one of the reasons why supermarkets exist is just you just go there, you buy it, that's it. It seems that what you're saying, harvesting, cutting, making sure everything is working fine, planting, might take a lot of time, and some people might not be willing to do that. So how much time do you actually have to spend to have those beautiful potatoes in your kitchen?
Yeah, so the convenience has been like one of the major factors of it. So we're employing everything we can to make the whole process as easy as possible. So the smartphone app will, once you put in your diet, it'll tell you when and where to plant everything. The full market unit, we want to have auto dosing nutrients and hooked up to water supply and drain, just like a dishwasher, so that it just fills the nutrient everything automatically. So we want to take away all the effort as much as possible. Have cameras in the unit that can take pictures of it. You can check in on your plants whenever you need. It'll give you all the status of humidity and light level and energy and all that stuff.
Okay.
Tell you when things are ready. So it should be reduced to, just simple trimming, planting seeds and harvesting. And we are making it so children or elderly can use it. And
Okay.
it shouldn't be very much time. Just, yeah, if you're trimming stuff a couple minutes a day, possibly, and then just planting seeds as required. So I'd say it's roughly 10 minutes a day sort of thing.
So faster than going to the supermarket and trying to finding everything
Precisely.
and buying. Yeah.
And you can eat it right away. And I
Yeah.
think, we sort of, the process of going to the grocery store, I think is sort of invisible to us now, that we don't really think about it, but we still have to go there, pick something up, wash it off
Yeah.
when we get
Yeah.
home, remove the plastic from it sort of thing. But yeah, otherwise we can just have
It's
it
time
grown
consuming.
ready.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
big time. Yeah.
Okay, so let's learn a little bit about the journey. You found out about this and you started researching, and you pitched this idea to Amy. She also got excited. Um, but from that to a working prototype with an app and everything, there's a huge step, right? So tell me, how did it go? Like, how did you first started, like, this process of building such a device?
Yeah, it has been a very long journey for sure. So after my initial interest in it, yeah, I got super hooked on it and just spent a lot of my spare time researching what a system could look like. I researched entrepreneurialism. I did a business course here at our local university for like it's sort of like a accelerator type style thing, and learned a lot about value proposition and things like that, and how to build a business and how to make it actually work and succeed, because it is rare for a business to do so, and I felt like this idea was important enough that it should. So yeah, I ended up I was building that as much as I could in my spare time. Yeah, and it's just building hardware is definitely super hard, and when you're doing it yourself and just like building in the basement, it takes a long time. So
Yeah.
we've had personal capital and just doing everything on our own. We can't really hire anybody. And if you get investments, that's like rocket fuel sort of thing that you can like hire people to get going. But we just stuck it to ourselves, and we also didn't want to share our patentable designs yet, because we think we have something that's really different and could cause a lot of change.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I'm just used to kind of working by myself and stuff like that. Me and Amy we're a good team. So yeah, we just set out to build it and stuff like that. I did all the hardware and the design and the technical aspect of all that stuff. working on the side, and yeah, life events and stuff happen, so you struggle through. I lost both of my parents in that amount of
Oh,
time, and just last month Amy lost her father too.
mm,
And yeah, we've just had a lot of struggles, but
yeah,
we were always able to kind of keep focused and kind of just keep doing some things with it, keep it moving, sort of thing.
right.
And yeah, just yeah, keep believing in it and just struggling through.
So, and what is your? Yeah, I know that you recently quit your job to focus full time into Aero Farms, but you told me also that Amy is still working. Um, what are your full time jobs? What are you doing?
Yeah, I was in the power utility sector here, just working with like electricity distribution systems and things like that.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And Amy, she has experience in startup industry here in Newfoundland. She was at a tech startup before that did smart thermostats, and now she's at a financial startup based in Toronto called Float.
Okay.
So
Cool.
yeah, she's yeah, working on that, and yeah, so that's kind of our background. But still, we're always kind of thinking about value and food systems and this
Yeah.
product on the side, sort of thing, right? So kind of just trying to do it all.
Yeah, because that's what I was wondering. I mean, it's such a complex and it seems completely overwhelming to do that without having actually any investment. This is the kind of idea I would say that you cannot bootstrap, that you need to get some investment. But the fact that you're doing that, it's really, really inspiring and with demanding jobs. So, how much time are, were you actually putting into building this prototype per day? Would you like get home and then work on it? Weekends, would you work on it? Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Just whenever you find time, you pick away at it. It could be a half hour here, 4 hours there, sort of thing. And just yeah, whenever you can find the time, just keep putting something in on it, like every week.
right.
And yeah, I found as long as you're not long stints without doing anything, I could always keep the ball rolling, sort of thing.
Hmm.
And eventually, we got a 3D printer, and that like really expanded my prototyping abilities and just manufacturing capabilities from my basement. So
Yeah.
I
Okay.
became a lot more capable with stuff like that, especially particularly building a hardware product, because now I can just design something from thin air, print it, hold it in my hand, make modifications, and
Yeah, that's
really,
amazing.
make
That's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a wild world, and everything's available on the internet, and I feel like capability nowadays is wild. That
Yeah.
yeah, you can almost it feels like you can do anything, sort of thing. So I feel like any solution can come from anywhere these days.
You know, for as a software developer, for me, it seems completely absurd that someone can just create such a prototype from their basement. But yes, now with these 3D printers, it seems that kind of open up a whole new world for
Yeah.
makers, and I would love also to learn more about it. It sounds super cool, and yeah. So would you say, or I guess let me rephrase that, there was how much time on your weekends, or like did you notice along the way of building this prototype that you were missing out on maybe family or friends or time even to be with each other just to be building this product? What were the sacrifices?
I find there's a big in startup culture. It's very popular to be like super hustle sort of thing, right? Like
Yeah.
grind set mindset sort of thing. But yeah, like me and Amy have been through a lot. My mother died of alcoholism. My father from
Mm.
multiple sclerosis, and her father from multiple systems atrophy and Lewy body dementia. So we had a
Oh.
lot of crisis. So like it was. I found it always important to make time for family. Sometimes you're forced into situations where yeah, there's crisis situations you got to respond to. You got to try to take care of yourself as much as you can. So always find time for self maintenance, like exercise, and try to get good sleep
Yeah.
and things like that. So but that's probably another reason why it's been taking us so long. But yeah, I think that is important to have the endurance to get through the whole journey, because
Hmm.
it's a crazy hard task to just build a business and a hardware business from
Yeah.
scratch. And but yeah, that's been the style that we went through, just valuing, always carving out family time, while doing as much as you can, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
So you were able to keep the patience. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not a proponent of just like working 10, 12 hours a day. Like I think like enjoy your time, recharge your mind, give yourself some space.
Right.
And then I
Right.
find
Right.
creativity flows a lot better that way.
Mm-hmm.
And this product is such a design challenge. Like, I wish I could show pictures of it now, because like the configuration of it inside is just crazy with how it's arranged. But all that is like out of the, you really got to think of some kind of different system and how each stage of the process happens at each point. And you need space in
Yeah.
your mind to be able to get through all that. So it's important. Yeah. Take care of yourself.
Yeah. No, I totally, I envy you for being able to do that. Because when you are building such an interesting thing, it's in your basement every day, gaining shape. It would be really hard for me not to just throw myself into it full time, and I really admire the fact that you are able to do that. To like, okay, let's do this and keep a consistent pace, but let's not deliver too much. Let's also take time for ourselves and for our families. So that's really great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big proponent of that for sure.
Hmm. How much money did you invest so far into this prototyping?
Yeah, so we're pre-revenue, so we're just building stuff and spending personal capital. So it took me about $10,000 to build the first and second versions of the prototype, and probably since then I've spent another 5 grand. So
Okay.
prototyping, one thing about prototyping in your basement is it's pretty expensive, because you're ordering all the parts individually, from Amazon, and from, you're never getting a distributor or manufacturer deal on anything. You're buying it all at the end of retail price, sort of thing. So it is
Right.
expensive to do this, but you are small and nimble, and you can, if you can carve off a bit of capital to just get yourself through the next step, yeah,
To
it
be
is
honest, I
pretty
think it's
good.
quite cheap. 15K only to build. You said that your prototype is already working. You already
Yeah,
have eaten food from it. So
it's
15K, I think
yeah.
it's super cheap for 5 years. That's
It's
incredible.
not actually super. It's mostly the arrangement of the system is the most special thing about it. But like an aeroponic system is just simple tubes, a pump, a tank, a water reservoir, and it's just like a sealed root chamber with an outer casing. So the hardware product itself is not well. And I got a Raspberry Pi for the control and automation of it as
Right.
well. And all these are fairly cheap items. And then once I get to manufacturing stage, I hope to reduce those costs heavily and to get to product market sort of thing, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's not is mostly time investment, because really on how it's going to be used, like just like an appliance, and how it's actually going to provide that yield without the effort.
One thing that it comes to my mind now as well, and a little bit connected to what we just talked about with being consistent, right? So another problem of being consistent and taking time for me is losing the motivation, right? Especially as you mentioned, you went through a lot of challenges in the past years, personal challenges. How did you gain the strength to deal with this and then go back to the same problem, the same challenge, and just keep on working on it? Like, I think a lot of people just forget about it, or they would just, like, I don't know, go on, build another thing. How did you keep this strength to just continue doing it?
I think it comes from Amy, from my relationship with Amy's. Through a lot of tough times, we ended up building a lot of resilience and strength and support for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I can't imagine getting through any of that stuff and actually being able to work on anything or being creative without her, sort of thing. So I feel like we were able to lean on each other and grow together and grow through the challenges that left us with enough space to actually endeavor through all the
Right.
challenges and get into the journey. So yeah, I think having a solid partner is
Yeah.
how we got through it.
I guess it's a passion that both you and Amy share, and then it's kind of something that you have as part of your relationship as well, right? Like,
Yeah,
this is another
big
thing that you
time.
do together, right? So that's great.
That's right, absolutely, and that has always been my dream. So that's gorgeous. I can't wait
Yeah.
till we actually get revenue here and we can both just focus on it full time,
Yeah.
sort of thing.
So okay,
Yeah,
but that's then another question for me. This seems to be one of those products that you could have raised money for, right? And by raising money, then you could have both of you focus on it full time, even maybe hire someone to help you build the prototype. Did this come to your mind to try to go the VC route? and get some money?
Yeah, it has. Oftentimes, you need patent protection set up before investors will give you money. So that was one big factor of it. And without the full prototype, we've had a lot of like setbacks with construction, even after growing some things. And we do have pictures, but for live video of it actually working and stuff, we're still in the beta production and building and things like that. And I've always been, we have a big startup community here in St. John's. There is
Cool.
investment around, and I will probably be seeking out different avenues, but I'm trying to seek out a non-dilutive investment, all the methods of that, before relying on investors.
Right.
I'm kind of wary about investors who just like need that profit, need that 2x, 5x, 10x. Like we need growth because like, you know, we think we have something here that could help people, and it has to be important that this technology becomes available to as many people as possible. So I don't really like, you see a lot of products now, these alternative agriculture products have like pods and things like that. And they, you know, do what's called the razor blade method of like, you have to buy refillables and things like that. Right. And, you know, they're the profit driven elements of the systems themselves, but we want to try to avoid things like that, and just more so what will be building a sustainable food system first.
What you just mentioned, it's a big problem with climate tech nowadays, and I felt the same with Change It. We really want to improve and we really want to fight rapid climate change. That's our main goal, right? And selling somehow, like quote unquote, selling out to VC, sometimes the idea, at least that we have from VCs, is that like they want that hockey stick growth. You know, they just want to make money, and that doesn't work along with a sustainable business or a sustainable product. It doesn't work. It just doesn't. You know, like that's why we came to this problem of rapid climate change. It's because of this unsustainable growth that we want from our products. And you know, the classic, the lobby of the bulbs, right? That they got together and they say like, okay, bulbs can have a duration of multiple years, but let's make it only 1 year so that we can sell more. You know, that's exactly it. So
yeah, that's right.
Do you think that now there's like a new kind of new generation of investors that know about this and that will invest in your company, knowing that, okay, we want first and foremost help the environment, and then of course trying to make some money out of it, but the main metric is the environment and then the money?
I've been seeing more entities show up that seem to say that they're climate driven. More firms and funds, they seem to be getting more and more popular. So I need to investigate more of those to see how engaged and plugged in those groups might be to, you know, early stage technology builders and creators. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what's out there for that. Yeah, it's tough. It's a big sea of you know, VCs and investors and things like that, and they need to see, they typically want to see, you know, traction and things at the time that you talk to them, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And did you already take some time to think about the business plan? Like, how much does it cost for one unit? How much will you make? Is it even sustainable? Like, do you know if you can actually make money out of Air Farms?
Yeah, that's right. So this is one thing where I think we should be. I'm aiming for a self-sustaining business model that we can fund ourselves once, like say if we had a Kickstarter jump sort of thing or some other kind of fund. But the product we're designing, like the value that we can provide, we can earn a profit just off the physical profit or the physical product itself.
Right.
And then we'll have recurring sales through accessories and nutrients and seeds and accessories and things that you need with it, and pest control and stuff like that. So yeah, we're hoping to be, if we get to the first 1,000 units, we think that should sustain an amount of growth to just keep that growing. And then we have a broad horizon of products that we are going to want to get to in the future as well.
Okay.
So we think, you know, any sale of a first unit will have other units in the future that we can resale to those initial customers for the growth of different things, say like microgreens, mushrooms and fungi, root vegetables only, plants, tropical trees, and we're going to really in cannabis and things like that.
Yeah, that's a great business if it's legal now.
It is, and so I do have
amazing.
a design done for, because the law here is
Yeah.
that you can have 4 plants in your home. So
Oh, that's a lot.
we have
For
yeah, I
two
know
people.
it's a ton of weed to get off that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the government realized that. So we do have a 4 plant unit, and we're staggering the growth so that you will have perpetual kind of harvest from it, sort of
That's
thing.
cool.
I wanted to focus on food first, but I know that people are going to want to grow their own cannabis as well. But yeah, that'll cascade down from initially with the food product that's meant for 2 to 4 people, and then we're looking for a half size unit for 1 to 2 people in condos and small places,
Right.
and then all the other
So cool.
ones as well.
Yeah.
And then we also have big plans for the software side of it, where we're going to eventually have all the units to be connectable, and you could see other units, and do a platform that'll enable the exchange of different foods and things like that. So you'll end up connecting farmers
with
and
your neighbors,
and they'll be able to interact with each other. Because if you got farming, if you got these embedded all throughout communities, you've got just farmers everywhere.
Yeah, makes sense. But
Yeah.
Something that makes me a little bit nervous, Shawn, when I listen to you speak about that is, what I've been learning and what is taught around this kind of indie hacking community is that you should try to speak with your customers and show an MVP to your customers as fast as possible. Because most of the times, if we take too much time building something and then we show it to the market, and we might just we are making a lot of assumptions. And I think you just made a lot of assumptions that people would like this shareability and they would like to share, and maybe they don't. Maybe you're not really solving a problem. So is this something that worries you, or if you already talked with a lot of potential customers that said, yeah, once you have it, I will be the first one buying it? Do you get this feedback from potential customers?
Yeah, that customer feedback is super, super important, because beyond what you believe of the idea, how good it is, that doesn't mean it's going to actually sell out in the world. So I find the customer feedback process continuous and long sort of thing throughout the whole thing. So at each iteration of the design, we went and did customer feedback interviews and used those specifically to think of how we're going to make revisions and what to work on the unit itself, and what features are going to be valuable. So we're continually in that process. We've done that a couple times already through certain variations. And then, like I mentioned, I'm looking to get beta units now constructed, and that's still going to be the customer feedback process there. So we're going to get those into early customer units, and then again, refine and revise everything based on that. So customers need to be checked in on all the time if you're going to be going after value that they're going to be able to get.
Right. And how much does it cost one of these units? Do you know already?
Be in the realm of, say, like 2,000 to 5,000 Canadian dollars, probably close to like 3,000 Canadian dollars. Well, I've looked at, so the average Canadian spending now, this was 2019 pre-COVID, was around $924 and a year on vegetables. And we're predicting that it'll cost roughly $630 or so to run the unit with the seeds, electricity, and nutrients. So compared to buying a grocery, this will be cheaper. Right. And we're hoping that this will pay itself off within the range of like 5 years. And every year thereafter, you're saving money, and the product that you're eating is just vastly superior.
I think people that will buy your product are not that much worried about savings. So that's why I think like 3K is completely fine, because what I'm doing is I'm worried about the environment. I'm worried about my health. And I want to control what I'm eating. And for that, 3K, and then of course, if I'm saving money, even better. But I wouldn't care that much, as long as it's not extremely more expensive to run the unit. I think it's an investment that makes total sense.
That's a good point. Yeah, big time. And it is more so about controlling your food supply. So it's people who have that at their, at the top of their mind.
But one thing that I would assume, because it sounds such a great product, that you already have people that says, Shawn, once the product is done, I will the first one buying it. If it works, I want to buy it, and I'll pay 3K for it. Do you already have this kind of customers?
Yeah, we have people saying that already. So yeah, we've had that. People, they're so keen on food production that we've had a lot of people throughout the whole development of this throughout the years
Okay.
just really keen on it. It seems like more than ever, food is top of mind,
Mm-hmm.
and controlling your food and knowing about the food that you're growing. So yeah, we've got people that are excited about the solution
Okay, that's
and
amazing.
wanting for some updates. So I
Yeah,
can't wait to get the patents filed, because then we're going to be
yeah.
showing a lot. There'll be a lot to reveal.
So you recently quit your job as well to focus 100% into finishing the Aerofarm prototypes and the
Yeah,
beta
getting it off the
launch.
ground, taking the plunge.
Yeah. So tell me about this. Like, what changed from the moment? Because I guess now you depend on this. Now this patience that you had before kind of disappeared, or not. Like, what changed?
Yeah, that's right. I think it ended up just, it became such a presence in mind that, and such a feeling of like, yeah, I have to work on this. I have to do this sort of thing. So, yeah, it just ended up. I don't know. It clicked in my mind and said, I got to take the plunge, sort of thing. And like I said, Amy's still working full time, so that's not bad.
Yeah.
She's the breadwinner for now.
Yeah, yeah. Did you
Yeah.
get nervous? Because when I quit my job to focus on my own projects, now I'm getting used to that. But at first I was like, oh my god, like bye bye social security, bye bye, even like having a team and going for it, and everything changed, and I felt kind of anxious and a lot of pressure. Did you also feel anything like that?
Yeah, building a physical product might be a bit different, because like I've been seeing the progression of it and seeing things come together, and you can just stand in front of the thing that you create, and even that alone is inspiring to just like keep going at it, sort of thing. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay. So you and when did you quit your job, by the way?
a couple months ago now.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
quite recent as well.
Yeah. So definitely
Yeah.
is nerve wracking. It definitely is nerve wracking, but I'm hoping that within a year I can, stand on my own legs, sort of thing, and get it bringing in some income. But it's definitely going to be a hustle to get to that.
So what are your next steps then? Like, what are your plans? You said in a year you hope to get some revenue. So until then, like, what do you hope to achieve?
Yeah, so we'll make the final. We're getting into our final grow trial right now in our prototype unit, and right after that, we're going to build 10 beta customer units and sell those. So those will be the early ones that early evangelists will buy into those,
In
and
a
then
year, you
help.
said, right?
Yes, that's right. Yep. So we are looking to have those constructed by the end of this year, and kind of out in the field there early next year.
Okay.
So we'll get them using those for a few months, and compile all the customer feedback as we're going, and build from there. We're from the first 10 units. We're going to just work as hard as we can to get to 1,000 units.
Super exciting, Shawn. It was really interesting to learn more about your journey building Aero Farms. I'm super excited with the product, and I really want to see how the prototype looks like. And I know that you cannot share that yet because you are still in the patent process, so cannot make this information public. But I'll definitely share your Twitter. So what social media do you have at the moment? Only Twitter, right?
That would be great. Yeah, we're on Twitter and Facebook right now. And soon after the patent stuff is sorted away, we'll be posting some YouTube videos and things like that. So we'll be in the YouTube space as well.
Okay.
And I got to get into Instagram as well. But yeah, Twitter is a really good way to connect with us. And if anybody's interested in updates and progress, you can sign up on our website, aerofarms.com.
Mhm.
And we'll be doing some email blasts as we get some major milestones coming up. So you'll be the first to know about the latest.
Yeah, and to be honest, I would love to get more information about your journey. You seem to be a very cute couple building these things that with green technology, and I would love to just to get more information. That classic build in public. So the moment
Yeah.
you get that pattern going, I would love to learn more about that, and I'll definitely subscribe. And your Twitter and website will be in the show notes of today's episode. And thank you very much for taking the time and speak with the wannabe entrepreneurs. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the talk, and great. And thanks so much, and good luck with all your stuff as well.
Thank you very much. And for the listeners, this was another interview. If you are into indie hacking and bootstrapping, there's a lot of interviews for you. You can just go to wannabe-entrepreneur.com. We also have a community of bootstrappers that you can join. And we are all people from all over the world building our products and helping each other. And it's really, really fun. It's called the WB Space. And the links will also be in the description. This was another Wannabe Entrepreneur. See you next time.